and how are you all doing? Alf-Inge Haaland, that's his dad. Erling Haaland, the Salzburg striker and Norwegian striker, heavily linked to Manchester United in a January transfer move. We'll be talking about that. Also a little bit more mystery around the Paul Pogba injury. Really weird statement coming out about that I read today. Lots of other things to discuss as well. All your latest Manchester United news and conversation on the United Stand. I just want to say thanks to everyone who's watched the Ryan Giggs interview and all the positive feedback we've had on that. Really appreciate it. The Christmas party, link in the video description, top line. All I'll say is that we're hoping to do something very similar for that. So I can't reveal the full details of it yet, but we're working hard on that. Link in the video description. Make sure you get there Thursday, the 5th of December at Hotel Football. Will be a fantastic evening, and also can reveal as well over the next few weeks things that we will be announcing that we're going to do at the Christmas party. I can tell you tonight we will be doing our United Stand end of year awards, which we'll be announcing on the night, which you can all vote for via the YouTube poll system. So link in the video description for that. Get up for the Christmas party. Really enjoying that, which we'll have some special guests at. But let's start off with, and just very quickly on the Ryan Giggs interview. I had loads of people saying, "Oh, Mark, where's these tough questions you're going to ask?" I'll tell you where these tough questions I'm going to ask are. I asked him before the thing, and he said he wouldn't answer those, which I totally understand because he's Wales manager, and it would just end up all over the press. So it was a decision, was it? He wasn't going to answer the questions I wanted to ask. We agreed on questions that we agreed would be, agreeable. So that's what happened with that, which is, as we've always said, which is why we love fan channels and fan opinion, because there isn't things that we can't say. So let's fly into it. Erling Haaland. Do you know anything about him? He's whacking goals in for Salzburg. He was formerly at Molde under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And Napoli have sort of done something called via Corriere dello Sport, which is very interesting about... They have apparently shown interest in Haaland, but understand he'll be going to Manchester United in January. Now, I've got to say straight away that I don't expect Haaland to be coming to Manchester United in January. However, we are hearing again about Mandzukic coming to Manchester United in January, and I think this simplifies something very big for Manchester United. That you've got Erling Haaland, who is just 20 years of age, scoring goals in the Champions League, looks like he's going to be potentially one of the better strikers in world football. 6'3" or 4", I think he is. So that you've got that height, you've got that speed around the box, you've got that finishing ability, and he's only 20 years of age. You've got Mandzukic, who is around 6'3" or 4", well known. Juventus don't want him anymore. 34 in May. What do you want? Do you want Haaland at 20, or do you want Mandzukic washed up at 33, coming up for 34? It's obvious, isn't it? Manchester United are clearly going to go and get a striker in January. And a lot of people think it's going to be Mandzukic. But you've got this lad who's 20, who could be one of the best strikers in world football in the next couple of years, who's played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is young. And we are potentially going to go and get Mandzukic. Everything I hear out of Manchester United is they don't want to go for older players. They don't even want to go for people around 25, 26. They want people like old, ceiling 23, up and coming players, footballers who are ingrained in the culture of Manchester United. They're not celebrities. They want to be at the club. They want to get better at the club. You've got a player like Haaland there, who's played for Ole as well. And then you've got a player like Mandzukic. It's going to be very interesting how this goes. Now, I don't think you can get Haaland in January, but it is interesting where the story's coming from, because Napoli are in the same group in the Champions League with Salzburg, Genk and Liverpool. Salzburg will not get out of that group. It will be Napoli and Liverpool. So Salzburg could drop into the Europa League by the looks of it, where Manchester United are. And that may well be a reason for him not to move in January. But he has been at Salzburg for a year in January. A lot of people think he joined in the summer. He joined actually last January, so he will have been there a year. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible for this deal to be done. It's Salzburg at the end of the day, which I believe is in Switzerland, or Austria. Sorry, Switzerland. So it's one of the two. So it's not cutting-edge, high-end football. However, he is deemed to be a very hot talent. And Manchester United should move quick on this deal if they are going to be in for him, because if he continues in this vein, he will end up at a Liverpool or a Barcelona or something like that. But right now, I think he's gettable for Manchester United, that connection with Solskjaer. And look, We were talking about this a week ago. Like I said, why would you go and get Mandzukic? On the subject of Mandzukic, why would you go and get Mandzukic? He's coming up for 34. He wants a payday. We've got to pay for Mandzukic as well. People seem to think we're getting Mandzukic for free. We've got to pay for Mandzukic, and some people think it could be as much as £9 million. So we've got to pay for Mandzukic as well. He's coming towards the end of his career. He's coming for a payday. And how does Mandzukic actually fit into a United side? He's a piece of the puzzle when the puzzle hasn't even been built yet. And I think with Haaland, you get different qualities. I think we should be all over it. I think we should all be all over it, and I think we should be nowhere near Mandzukic, to be honest with you. The Haaland transfer reminds me of Depay in terms of a young player from a smaller league coming to us. Hope it doesn't end the same way. Well, will be. Well, the reality is this seems to be what Manchester United are looking to do these days. This seems to be what Manchester United are looking to do. And I would much rather we went for Haaland than we went for Mandzukic, because even if Haaland ended up being a Memphis Depay and he didn't work out over 2 years, Mandzukic won't even be here in 2 years. So, you know, I think you've got to go with that, to be honest with you. Bruno, Fernandez and Lozano. Well, Lozano's only just gone to Napoli. Mark is a hypocrite about Solskjaer out, says Obi. Maybe learn to construct a sentence and I might actually be able to answer that. But I'm not a hypocrite about Ollie out because I never was Ollie out. And for anybody who watches the United stand and actually cleans their ears out, they will know what I've consistently said over the last few months about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I don't need to repeat it, but I will. I was never Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out. And I said that, but I did say I'm not convinced he's going to be the right manager. And I don't know whether he'll be gone before Christmas, but I'm not convinced he'll be here in 2 years. I don't think it will work out with Solskjaer. That's my feeling, but I'm not Ollie out. I want it to work out, but my prediction is it won't. And I'll stand by that. And I hope I get it wrong. I've said the same about McTominay. I really didn't see what he was all about. But I said in the summer, I've got a feeling he's going to have a big season. And at the moment, I appear to be right. But let me be honest with you about McTominay. I don't know why he's even been brought into it, actually, because I brought it into it. I like him. I do like him. I think he's a good player. But to be honest with you, I liken Manchester United at the moment to Everton. And Scott McTominay is a potential midfielder for us. So Scott McTominay is a potential Everton midfielder. Is he a top 4 standard midfielder is what I'm trying to get to in a very rambled way. And I don't know whether most of our team are top 4 players because we're not a top 4 side ourselves. And that's the challenge for McTominay, for Dan James, for Wan-Bissaka, for Pereira, for Fred. Are you top 4 standard players? And at the moment, who are the top 4 teams in Manchester in the Premier League? Liverpool and Man City. Do any of our players get in their side? Not really. Who are the other 2 spots? Chelsea, potentially a Leicester, potentially an Arsenal. Does McTominay or Fred or Pereira or Dan James or Wan-Bissaka get into those teams? Some of them do, some of them don't. But the challenge is to be a top 4 side. Can these players be top 4 players? People forget Roy Keane tackle on Haaland's dad, says Chris Bennett. I don't think they do. I don't understand what the relevance is. Roy Keane's got nothing to do with Manchester United at the moment, as we all well know. He wasn't even part of the 99 reunion side, was he, in the summer? So, Roy Keane's tackle on Haaland's dad doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Haaland's son played for Ollie at Mulder, and Haaland and Ollie might want him at Manchester United. Let's talk about Paul Pogba. This is quite interesting. I read this today, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I've seen it quoted around a few places that with regards to Pogba's injury, we know with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's statement at the weekend that Paul Pogba is probably not going to be back until early December. There's talk of Sheffield United after the international break, which is around the 24th, I think, of November, but maybe not till December for Paul Pogba. However, what I read today was that they've done the scans on Paul Pogba's injury. There are no breaks or anything like that. It's one of those injuries where the player dictates when they come back, and Paul Pogba has had a couple of problems where he's gone to increase his training and has felt pain in the foot, which of course has then led to some fans saying, well, this is Pogba then, so Pogba's in charge of the injury, Pogba's in charge of the pain threshold, so Pogba's in charge of when he comes back, and Pogba wants to move out of Manchester United. I don't know about that. I don't know what I think about that. The reality is, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I read today on the BBC that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said, look, Pogba's not about. Fred and Pereira can step up into the position, and they're doing really, really well at the moment. All I would say is, I said it at the start of the season, that midfield's not good enough. And I don't think it is good enough. I don't think that midfield's good enough. And I think you need Paul Pogba to have any chance. I think I did a video the night before the Chelsea game on the opening day of the season where I said Paul Pogba's got Manchester United's season in his hands.
he can ruin it by not playing, or he can be the player that gets us to top 4, because he is so important to what we do. And how long's Paul Pogba been out? And how long is he going to be out for? You've got to look at Woodward, and you've got to, I don't know, maybe Ollie, but you've certainly got to look at Woodward and say, this is a player that wanted to leave in the summer, and we kept him, and already he's missed half of the season we've had already. And what if, he's going to miss another few games, isn't he? So we keep a player who doesn't want to be here. And then he doesn't hardly play any games. It was a poor decision in the summer with Pogba anyway. We do need him back. We need him back ASAP. I'm a little bit worried. I think we've got a really good run of games at the moment. I think, Chelsea tomorrow night I'm looking forward to. But it won't be a strongest United against the strongest Chelsea. Saturday, Bournemouth is difficult. But then you've got Brighton at home. And I think we've got Sheffield United. And then I think we've got Aston Villa. So we've got some really winnable games for Ollie. And it gives him a chance to get a few points, get us up and around 7th or 8th, which I think is, obviously a lot better than 15th, which it was a week ago. And then we'll get Pogba back, and then hopefully we can get some improvement, and then we get January. That's the aim. But as we know with United, nothing ever runs smoothly. But I do worry about that midfield. I think that the midfield of United is weak, and I think that we need to improve it. But there's not really any links to any midfielders in January, is there? So I can see us being stuck with this midfield till the summer. And I'll tell you what, I will say this now. I don't see Fred and Pereira being successful at United. I think one of them will slip away. I don't think we're going to get that lucky. I think Fred and Pereira are a little bit like United's youth. The jury's still out of them, and I can't see that they're both going to be the standard of quality that we need. Buy Haaland, Odegaard and Tonali, says Christopher Delagi. And John Macker, hi Mark, can you give my fiancée Gemma a shout out? She hates when I watch your show, but guess what? I love it. Cheers Mark, United forever. Gemma, let him watch it. He loves United and the United Stand community. Tell you what, bring her down to the Christmas party. Get her a couple of tickets. Links in the video description. We'll sort her out. Not in that way. I mean, we'll convert her to United standards. I just want to talk about a few things as well with regards to United's turn of events and the way that we're playing at the moment. A lot of people, I've not done a live show since, when was the last live show I did? I think the last live show I did was my match reaction, because then I did the preview, the Ryan Giggs was a pre-record as well. Then we've had Flex and Rants. So I just want to say, it's very important that when we're negative, actually I did something today with Alex Goldberg for the Chelsea game, and he said to me, do you ever feel guilty when you are critical of players, and do you think that there are United players out there that watch the United Stand but don't like you? And I said, yeah, factually I think I've been told a lot of United players watch the United Stand. I know they're not allowed to say it, and a lot of people don't think that's cool, but I think we do know that happens. And I suspect there's one or two that just can't stand me or the programme, because obviously we've given them a little bit of criticism. Pink boots. But what I said to Alex Goldberg was that the reality is, we as fans, and me and you as fans, have no loyalty to players who don't perform in a United shirt. We operate in an entertainment business. Football is an entertainment business. It's nothing personal. It's about the shirt that they wear and the club that they play for, which is our club, and we support it. And we are literally critiquing performances in the club that we love. It's an entertainment business. Don't take it personally, because it's not. It's about what you're doing in that shirt. And if you get a bad comedian or you get a bad actor, then they get critiqued and they probably don't get another gig. And at United, if you wear a shirt and you don't do it to the best of your ability, or you're not good enough, then you're going to get criticised. We're not running a charity at Manchester United. Well, we are, the Manchester United Foundation. But you know what I mean? In relation to football, if you're not good enough, and that's been the problem of the last 6 years, then you're not good enough. It's not about whether they like what the fans think. Well, I tell you what, instead of moaning or disliking fan opinion, maybe think, why do I get called crap, calamitous, not good enough? Are they picking on me? Or actually, look in the mirror, or even better, look at the reruns of your performances and realise you're crap. And I tell you what I've always said as well, and I know you lot are the same. If these players that have been poor for the last few years suddenly turn into decent players, we're not going to go, nah, they're still crap. We'll be right at the front of the queue applauding them, because they operate in an entertainment business. We don't operate in a oh, I like you, so I'll pretend you're not shit. I mean, look at Juan Mata, prime example. We all love Juan Mata. I think we all ignored last season because we loved Juan Mata, but this year the patience has run out. We know he was bad last year. This year he's just as bad, and as much as we like him, he's just not good enough. The Manchester United shirt comes first. It's not about disliking people as people. It's about whether they're good enough, and a lot of them haven't been good enough. So that's what we're critiquing. But what I wanted to say is, and Joel Holdway says, McSauce seems to be box-to-box, scores goals for us, and charges shots down in our box, put 2 cracking blocks in on Sunday, literally threw himself in the way. He's having a good season, Joe. He's had a couple of bad games, though. He's still inconsistent. But I think Scott McTominay is a young 22, because he's 23 in December. And I think he's a young 22, 23. I think that's just the way his career's gone. I think if he was 18, 19, because of the size of him, you'd go, we've got a right player there. I think he's 4 years off where you would expect him to be. But I still think he can be a good player, but it's a big season for him. And Cantona, the greatest number 7, says, Mark, wake up. Paul Pogba is a good player, but he don't have the heart to be a great player. You blame his performance because of the players around him. Don't think I've ever blamed it on the players around him. I think what I said is that I felt that Paul Pogba should have left Manchester United in the summer because I think that the marriage was over. He came in 3 years ago. We in the Europa League. 3 years later, we're back in the Europa League. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. It's just not worked out. We haven't bought any better players in the summer, so it's just going to be the same old Pogba. And I said that I felt that it was time for him to go. Both people part ways the same. That's what I felt about that. But Pogba is inconsistent. If you had to describe Paul Pogba in one word about Manchester United, what would you say? Are you going to use the word phenomenal? Are you going to use the word genius? Or are you going to use the word inconsistent? And I think a lot of people would use the word inconsistent. But going back to what I was saying there about players and critiquing players, I didn't do this on the match reaction on Sunday because, it's instantly after the game, you're talking about loads of things, and then you start to think about other things afterwards. And I just want to say, Marcus Rashford deserves a lot of credit for Sunday's performance, and I've not really seen a lot of it. And the reason I say this is because a couple of years ago, my 2 favourite players at United were Rashford and Martial. Then Mourinho ruined them. Mourinho is not a developer of players. He's a finished article, build a team for a couple of years, then it falls apart and he moves on. That's what Mourinho does. So when Mourinho came in and we had Martial and Rashford, we should have seen the warning signs. He didn't develop them. I think they both either stagnated and stayed the same and plateaued, or even dropped off a little bit. So that wasn't helpful to Martial and Rashford, but they're still very, very good players. Over the last 8 months, I think Marcus Rashford's been appalling in a Manchester United shirt. Form, ability-wise. His effort levels I've never questioned. I just think he's been poor. And I think at times this season, I've seen fans going, look at him, he's just given up. Sort of like he looks shot of confidence. On Sunday, we saw the best Marcus Rashford performance in a United shirt since January. I thought he was fantastic. He was confident, the way he took his goal, that first touch and finish. He was playing without fear, he was playing without thinking, and that's always... Marcus Rashford is a raw talent, and Marcus Rashford is a good player when he's not thinking, when he just does it. When he's thinking about a free kick, when he thinks he's Ronaldo, when he's thinking about trying to play somebody in or gets his head down or closes his eye from across, when he overthinks it tends to do bad things. But at the weekend, I thought, not enough people said that's the best performance we've seen from Rashford in months. And it was. So I just wanted to give Rashford a shout out because I think there is a lot of critiquing and saying players aren't good enough. And I've seen a lot of Trashford or the next Danny Welbeck. And this is what it's about. For me, I'll criticise a player to the absolute limits. I'll say all sorts like, couldn't finish his dinner. It's the pink boots, whatever you want to say. Of course, there's an element of banter to it, and it would never be cruel in the way that I'm not going to start, hating on them because it's not about that. It's about their footballing performance. But what I will say is, if a player turns it around and starts playing well, I'm still waiting for Lingard to do this, by the way, if you're listening. But Rashford on Sunday, I know it was only Norwich, but I thought he played really, really well. Like, he looked like the old Rashford again. Of course, there was some bad bits in there, but we know Rashford's raw. He's not the finished article. He shouldn't even have the number 10 shirt, really, because he's not the finished article. He shouldn't be on 200 grand a week because he's not the finished article. That's United's fault, though. It's not his fault. But on Sunday, he looked good, and hopefully we'll start to see that form with him now. We, the fans, are the only ones which put money in the club. Everyone else earns money within the club, so we're allowed to be harsh and tell the truth, says Turby Toon. And Rajat Obaleri says, going a bit off topic, but Mark, you look so sharp on the interview and in the United Stand t-shirts. Are you considering modelling anytime? Good joke. And Cantona, the greatest number 7. I don't think Ollie is tactically good enough. However, I honestly believe him being there will result in the right players being bought to make us great. It's interesting, isn't it? What I like about Manchester United over the last couple of days is the positivity. For the first time in probably 6 months, I feel like I did when we got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the first 3 months. I'd forgotten what that feeling was like. I actually, I'm tired because I've been driving a lot today, sorry. But when it started to go wrong with Mourinho, I never felt like there was a way back. I thought, he's done. We can go and win in Juventus, but I was Mourinho out after we lost to West Ham, which I think was around the start of October. And I think at the end of October, we went to Turin and won. And, there were still people clinging on Mourinho in. And I couldn't. And I remember we went on the international break and we came back and we had a run of winnable fixtures. And I went to the Palace game and we drew 0-0. And I thought he's gonna win his way out of this. And he couldn't. The players had turned off and I think the fans had turned off. And I never felt like giving Mourinho a second chance, even when he did get the win in Turin. But with Ollie, the interesting thing about the Norwich result is I've been really annoyed with him. But I actually, after the Norwich game, was like, I felt good. And I felt good the last couple of days. I felt positive. I felt like I did back in February when things were going well. So that, to me, shows me that, look, we're living in hope. We're living in hope, of course we are. But it shows that there is still that goodwill and there is still that, I wouldn't say belief, but there is that hope that Solskjaer will be successful. It's still there. Of course, the realist would say Norwich are terrible. I mean, people go on about that Dan James assist for the Rashford goal, and I saw the Flex and Rant show earlier, and they were going on about it. I looked at it the first time I saw it. I thought, what a pass. The second time I saw it, I thought, what? Who defends like that? Like they literally have no defenders in the key position. So it's a great ball by Dan James, but if a defender had been in position, it would never have got there anyway. But it was Norwich. That is what I'm trying to say. And defensively, Norwich are really, really bad at the moment. What we need to do is go and take this into Chelsea and Bournemouth. More importantly, Bournemouth. But I think if we win against Bournemouth on Saturday, we can start to believe a little bit. I really do. I think if we can win against Bournemouth on Saturday, then you've got Brighton before the international break, which we should win. 9 points from the last 3 games, 10 points from the last 4 if you take the points from Liverpool. That's not a bad mini international break period, is it? So interesting. It's interesting, but it rolls from game to game. I was saying to somebody today, actually, I met someone at the service station and they were like, how do you think United are going at the moment? And I said, well, you can't complain with the result at the weekend. I think Martial makes a big difference, and I also think that we roll game to game. I mean, I don't know, the Chelsea game tomorrow will be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. But let's talk about the Bournemouth game. If we go to Bournemouth and we get beat 2 or 3-0, or we get beat, then I think the negativity of before the Norwich game will come swooping back in, because we'll be like, well, Norwich were shit, we're still shit. So we're not out of the woods yet. He's just got to. I just think that this is hope that this performance against Norwich can build into others. Has Lingard ruined his career with social media? Says the Bat Gam. Well, it was interesting, hopefully all of you have seen the Ryan Giggs interview now, but it was interesting what he said about Maguire, James, and Wan-Bissaka being real footballers. And on the night on Friday, he said that, and there was a lot of applause. And then I read some of the comments of the video that we put up, and some people were like, "Why did that get applauded?" And it maybe didn't come across on the video as much as well as it did on the night, because when he said, James, Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire are real footballers, and then it got applauded by the crowd, the perception of the crowd, and I believe this is what Ryan meant anyway, was that these are people who just want to play football and want to play for Manchester United. They are not players who are coming here for status, social media growth, brand deals. They're not there for that. They're footballers. They get what Manchester United's all about, and they want to come and be part of that.
And you know that. Wan-Bissaka just loves tackling. Harry Maguire is everything you see and read about him is just a model professional footballer. And Dan James is from, a fantastic family background, Welsh lad, which doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether he's Scottish or Irish or English, but, he's, family orientated, wants to play football. And that's why it got applauded, because I think we all know United through, and I'm not digging out Memphis Depay or Paul Pogba or Jesse Lingard, but it does irritate the fans when we're not performing on the pitch, but then you see them performing off the pitch. I think that the brands and the social media and the publicity that they get off the pitch is fine as long as you're performing on the pitch. But I think that's why it got applauded when Giggs said that, because he was saying that Maguire, James and Wan-Bissaka are footballers, and that's what we need more of. And I think that's the cultural change that is being spoken about by Manchester United. I think the problem they've had is that they're not defining what the cultural change is. So fans are like, well, what's a cultural change? Is it like scoring from corners? Is it, playing good football? I think it is those things, but I also think the most important thing the cultural change is to get people in a Manchester United shirt who get it and want to play in that shirt and bleed for Manchester United. And again, from that Giggs interview, he was talking about the team, the double winning team with Hughes and Cantona in the 90s. And then we moved to the late 90s and the treble winning side. And then we moved to the 2008 side that should have won a treble. The one thing running through all of that is obviously Sir Alex Ferguson. Ryan Giggs was one of those players as well. But it's the whatever 11 you take, whether it's the double winning team from the 90s, the treble winning side from the late 90s, the 08 side, they're three different teams. All under the same name and all wearing the same badge. But they're three different teams with three sets of different players, apart from Giggs. But they're all ingrained in the United way. They're all footballers. They're not celebrities. Beckham was a bit, Cantona was a lot. Sorry, Beckham. Cantona was a lot. But as footballers, you couldn't question. I mean, David Beckham, as a footballer, if you never watched him play, oh my God. Unbelievable effort, unbelievable ability. And I think that's what we need more of. Mark, off topic here. Why is it when someone else asks you a football question on Going for Goldbridge, you don't answer it? It's a bit rude, but you're still cool, says George Ramos. Because Going for Goldbridge is not a football channel. If I wanted to do... I answer a lot of questions on here, and I answer a lot of questions on That's Football, which are football related. Going for Goldbridge is on my channel, which is Mark Goldbridge, which I don't do football content on, so that's why I don't answer football questions on there. Very simple. I've got 3 outlets on YouTube. I don't really do much on my channel, but when I do, it's nothing to do with football, so it's not rude. I've explained it millions of times. One has been showing his class as Michael Jones. I mean, yeah, just very quickly, out of the 3 signings that we've made, how would you rank them in order? Because I think they've all done really, really well. But for me, it would be Wan-Bissaka, Dan James and Harry Maguire. And that doesn't mean Harry Maguire's been bad. I think Harry Maguire's been low-key steady and very, very good. I think Dan James has had bad games, but has had brilliant games. And I think Wan-Bissaka just gives me so much confidence. Gives me so much confidence. I was saying this to Alex Goldberg today on his podcast. I remember when Rooney got sent off in the Euro 2006 against Portugal. I can't remember whether he got sent off at the start of the second half or it was in the first half, but we definitely had to defend with 10 men, England, up all the way through extra time, and then we lost on penalties. But we had Gary Neville at right back and we had Ashley Cole at left back, and they were up against Figo and Ronaldo. And I had total confidence in Gary Neville and Ashley Cole, even though they were up against those 2 players. I had total confidence that they were going to do their job defensively, and it's rare that you get that. But with Wan-Bissaka, I have total confidence. Of course, people do get past him because he's human. He's not a robot. For all the things that we call him, Spider-Man, Titanium, all great things. But he does get beaten every now and again. But he instills total confidence as a defender. He is absolutely fantastic. Suggested any signings to Giggs, Partey especially, says Mayawa Adokoye. I don't think Ryan Giggs has got anything to do with who Manchester United sign. And to be fair, I would like to have asked him a question about who would sign. But I mean, the reality is he is Wales manager. So if Ryan Giggs says to me or Flex, United should go and sign Bruno Fernandes, Thomas Partey and James Maddison in January, or Haaland in January, then that's going to be all over the back of the paper, and that's going to put pressure on Ollie, isn't it?
which Rio Ferdinand has said it, but Rio Ferdinand's not a manager of Wales looking to do that, is he? It's a different world for Ryan Giggs than it is for a pundit. So I totally respect that. He answered. I thought the first two questions he answered were spot on. What do you think about Manchester United now? And to be fair, what's the one thing you'd change at Manchester United if you were the manager? And he spoke about a couple of things which I thought was good. Mark, can we not play like we did 7 years back? It's always this coaching and players, or there are the underlying factors. Shubik B. I think with United at the moment, I think we all need to please do smash a like on the video. Actually, see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're live. But I think that with regards to United at the moment, we are in that pit of uncertainty, aren't we? We don't really know where we're going as a football club, and that is always difficult. I think we're living day to day. We're living day to day, aren't we? It's like an illness. Manchester United have inflicted an illness on us over the last 6 years, and we live day to day. We have good days and we have bad days, more bad days than good. But we've enjoyed these last couple of days because it's uncertainty. It is uncertainty. And can you honestly sit there and say, yeah, we're going to beat Bournemouth at the weekend? We don't know. We go into it with hope. And if we do beat them, I think we've got an opportunity to start building our season, because Arsenal are doing badly at the moment. So Chelsea and Leicester, yeah, they're doing well, but maybe Leicester will drop at some point. So maybe that fourth spot becomes available, because Spurs are, I think, are behind us now, and they're playing Everton at the weekend. That's a big game for them. So there is an opportunity for United. We probably don't deserve this opportunity. As I said at the weekend, how you go from 15th to 7th shows that there's loads of teams beating each other at the moment. We can't afford to slip again. I think if we went down to 15th again, I don't think Ollie would survive that again. I think this now has to be, remember we were down at 15th, now let's not let it happen that again. Let's build and build and build. I think that's what we need to see. But we don't know. We don't know. We live it day to day, don't we? Mark, did you notice Ollie winked in the interview right after saying he can't talk about other teams' strikers, says Akil Kamal. I didn't. But I really, really do hope that United do go for Haaland in January, because I think it would be a really exciting signing. He's only 20 years of age, but he has got the height of a Mandzukic, and he's got 13 years on Mandzukic. So, how much is he going to? The great thing about Haaland as well is, just to go back to it, a lot of people have said it can't happen. They won't sell him in January. Well, maybe they won't. But they might sell him in the summer. And if we buy Mandzukic, we won't get Haaland in the summer, because they're two similar players. Like, they're both very tall. Well, they're not similar, actually. They're very, very different. But are you going to go and buy Mandzukic and then go and buy Haaland in the summer? I don't think we'll do that. It's going to be one or the other, and it's got to be Haaland. And also, what I would say about it is, he doesn't play for PSG. He doesn't play for Napoli. He doesn't play for Sporting Lisbon. He plays for Salzburg. They're not even in a big European league. And he's not going to cost 80 million. He's not going to cost 60 million. He's probably going to cost 40 million. Because that's huge money for Salzburg. So United have got an opportunity to go and get him in January, and I think we should do. Nobody else is going to be looking at him in January. Who's going to look at him in January that's bigger than us? None of the top clubs in Europe are going to be looking to buy him in January, but we can. So I think it's a deal we need to do, but I think it's going to be very interesting. We will not get Haaland and Mandzukic. So if United go and get Mandzukic in January, to me, that's like another hypocritical statement from the club, because we've been told, oh yeah, we're going for these young up-and-coming players. And then you're going to go and get a player that Juventus don't want, who's basically nearly at the end of his career, and give him big wages. No, go and get Haaland, definitely. Definitely. That's what we need to do. When do I think Manchester United will get back to fighting for titles? I answered a question like this very similarly today. If I was in charge of Manchester United, not the manager, if I was if I was the Glazers, I would say that we would be fighting for a title. Obviously not this year, not next year, not the year after that, but the year after that. So 3 years, which a lot of people talk about. And the reason I would say 3 years, or 2.5 years, because we're halfway through this season effectively, aren't we? This club needs 500 million spending on it, and you're not going to spend 500 million in one summer. So that you need 2 summers for that. And people talk about January. Forget January. It's not an easy transfer window to operate in. I think Haaland is gettable because of who he plays for, and he'll be reasonably priced. So you'd need 2 summers to get rid of the rest of the crap, to bring in lots of players that we need.
You need the right manager in charge as well. I'm not convinced that is Ollie, to be fair. If I was in charge, I'd probably give him another 3 months and then I'd assess it. 3 years for United to be fighting for titles again. If everything went well, i.e. the right signings, the right manager, and obviously the right ownership. Well, straight away, we haven't got the right ownership. So when will United be back fighting for titles? Not in 3 years. Not with this ownership. I think it's indefinite as to when that's going to happen, unfortunately. If Haaland happened, what about Martial and we need a right winger, says Dipanshu Karma. Well, Dipanshu, I'm glad you answered that question, asked that question. What about Martial? We need another striker. He's perfect for us because he wouldn't come in as the finished article. He'd come in and share the load. We play loads of games. If you had Haaland now, you could play him tomorrow night against Chelsea and then play Martial, James and Rashford against Bournemouth and then play Haaland midweek against Partizan Belgrade. And then maybe Rashford needs a rest at home to Brighton, so you play Haaland again. It's rotation. We just need another good striker. We haven't got enough. So I don't see what Haaland would do to Martial because there's always injuries, there's always rest and there's always games. You just need to... you need to manoeuvre it around a little bit. I would take Ziyech, Paul Robinson, I would. The only way we can win the title in 3 years is if the owners change, says Tyrone Williams. Exactly, I do agree with you on that one. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. Please smash a like on the video, everybody. I presume you've all watched the Ryan Giggs interview by now, but if you haven't, make sure you check it out afterwards. What would happen to Greenwood, says Ewan19. Yeah, but we've got Greenwood, Rashford, Martial. We need another striker. I include Greenwood in that. We've got Greenwood, Martial, Rashford and Haaland. That would be brilliant. One's 20, one's 18, and the others are 21 and 23. What a brilliant 4 strikers to have, because with their youth, there'll be inconsistency, which means rotation. They'll probably pick up knocks. They'll probably need rests. That would be a very good 4 strikers to have. Very good 4. I'm a firm believer that I would rather have more options than less. And we definitely, whoever it is, I don't want it to be Mandzukic, but we do need another striker. You can always play 2 up front. Tyrone says the Ryan Giggs interview was amazing. Thanks, pal. Greenwood is only a sub option, yet he's 17. Yeah, well, exactly. Greenwood is actually going through the development years as well. We also need a winger, I agree, Gwal Azan. Would Haaland come being RP Zulzburg are in the Champions League, says Mitchell Clark. Well, they won't be in the Champions League in January, mate. They'll be out in December because they're in Napoli and Liverpool's group, so they'll be gone. Turbatoon says, who's your favourite available manager for United? Well, my favourite available manager for Manchester United is the one that we've got. I said this when we had Mourinho in charge, and I was getting people saying, you're clearly Mourinho out, but you won't say it. Well, I was Mourinho out when I said it. And what I said about Mourinho is, as bad as it was getting, and as bad as people were saying you should be Mourinho out, and they were right, what I said was, the best scenario for United is Mourinho turns this around, because he's already got the players he wants. All right, he wants a few more, and we've got the manager. If you look at what happened with Mourinho, it was right to sack him. He admits it was right to sack him. We spent 20 million sacking him. We've got Lukaku out. We've got Sanchez, who we're trying to get rid of. Pogba wants to go as well. Eric Bailly, all these Mourinho players, Matic, that we're having to offload. And plus the sacking fee of Mourinho, it's been a very, very costly mistake. And it was the same with Van Gaal, and it was the same with Moyes, and that's why I'm amazed that Woodward's still in his job, because he's cost this club loads of money, not just our status on the pitch. And it was right to sack Mourinho in the end, but if we sack Ollie, what becomes of Wan-Bissaka, Dan James, Harry Maguire? I mean, you would expect a new manager to come in and go, yeah, they're brilliant, I'm keeping them, but McTominay, it's a whole new manager with a whole new ideas. So the best scenario is that Solskjaer continues to build this and does well at it. But of course, there is a big if with that. So the best available manager for United at the moment is Solskjaer, and I hope he can turn it around. If he didn't, and it got worse,
and it got to the point where I was Solskjaer out, who would I want as United manager? Probably, I mean, I like Laurent Blanc, although people don't. I like Laurent Blanc. I don't want Pochettino and I don't want Allegri. So I want a manager who, I mean, Brendan Rodgers. I wouldn't mind Brendan Rodgers, but he's not available. Wouldn't Haaland be cup-tied for Manchester United being Salzburg playing in a major continental competition? Says Gewel Balandares. I don't know how that works, but I mean, it wouldn't be enough to turn me off him, to be honest with you. Thanks for a great show, says Even Frost. That must be the end of it then. Liverpool are the best team in the world, says Yuko Lex Corner. I'll tell you what I was really surprised about, actually, just to touch on this one. I asked Ryan Giggs if United's 99 team was playing now, and obviously they had the same fitness levels as the team now, would they win the league? And he said easy. And I totally agree with that. But I had so many people who were Liverpool and City fans saying, you don't know what you're on about. Klopp's team would annihilate the 99 team. Pep's team would annihilate the 99 team. And I was like, this is the problem with modern society, isn't it? They think now is better than anything. You're talking about the best Premier League team ever, 99. You're also talking about one of the best teams in the world ever. And yet Liverpool, who've not won a title yet, and Man City, who've not won a Champions League yet, are saying they would wipe the floor with treble-winning best team ever candidates in the world. It makes me laugh. But it's the modern world, isn't it? Man City, who go and get turned over by the likes of Wolves at home and Crystal Palace last year, are better than the 99 treble side. You know, makes me laugh. I think actually just Roy Keane in our current side would beat Liverpool and Man City because he'd fuck everyone up. But on top of that, you've got Beckham, Scholes, Giggs, York and Cole, Sheringham and Solskjaer, Jaap Stam, Gary Neville, Schmeichel, Dennis Irwin. I just, it makes me laugh, the modern fan, how they go, oh, City would wipe the floor with him. Oh, City. Oh, Bernardo Silva and David Silva. Oh, they're good players, but I'm talking about prime Scholes and Keane here. Oh, we've got Sterling. Yeah, we've got Giggs and Beckham. Yeah, it's like, it's just madness. But I've always said this. I think modern society is absolutely obsessed with now being better than the past, and it just makes me laugh. It's a shame we'll never see it because the 99 team would absolutely wipe the floor with Liverpool and Man City. Facts. They would, because they're the best team the Premier League's ever had, and they're the best team the Premier League's ever had for a reason. I admit the current Man City side would probably beat Arsenal's Invincibles, but they wouldn't beat the 99 side. And I'm old enough to have seen it all. And I don't do bias. I don't do bias on things like that. If this City team I thought it was better, I would say it, but I don't think it would even be close because City's captain, who is it? Company. Oh, we're really scared of him. Yeah, Roy Keane's the best captain the Premier League's ever had. That's worth a 2-0 lead straight away. What about 99 versus Invincibles? Says that, yeah, as I said, the Invincibles weren't even that good. They drew loads of games. They just got a Premier League trophy and wrapped it up in a gold Yorkie wrapper. They weren't even that good. It's not even the best Arsenal team. The best Arsenal team was the double winning side of 98. That's the best Arsenal side I've seen. I don't even rate the Invincibles that much. United were crap then as well. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. And as I said, if you liked the Ryan Giggs interview, make sure you get yourself to the Christmas party on December the 5th. We're going to do an end of season award, end of year awards, live Q&A, DJ. It's going to be a fantastic night. Make sure you get your tickets. Bring the other halves down. All I ever get told by people is my other half gets really fed up of me listening and watching to your show. Bring them down. We'll charm them. We'll turn them into United standards. So links in the video description for that. Get your tickets now. I'll speak to you all very soon.